Hi, my name is Amy Ramirez. I am an undergraduate student here at Texas A&M University Kingsville, and my presentation is on the best law schools in Texas. A little bit about me: I am a political science major and I'm minoring in history. I am a junior and I am set to graduate in the fall of 2022. I have two older sisters, which makes me the youngest of three daughters, and I am from Progreso, Texas. After I graduate, I hope to either go to law school or grad school somewhere in the state. So that was kind of my inspiration for this presentation because it helped me research, but I hope to help somebody else as well. The audience for this presentation are those looking to apply to law school within the state of Texas specifically. Also to those who have been accepted to multiple schools but are looking for a way to choose what school to go to. And also to undergraduate students who are kind of thinking about law school but don't really know the requirements. I hope this presentation is able to help them kind of see what school fits them specifically and what they would need to do to be able to get accepted. Schools that are being discussed. There are 5 different schools that are being discussed within this presentation, and those include Texas A&M University at College Station, the University of Texas, Baylor University, the University of Houston, and Southern Methodist University. What criteria you should look at while choosing schools? There are 6 different criteria that you should look at. These include the LSAT score, GPA, acceptance rate, bar passing rate, cost of attendance, and school ranking. Each of these holds a different significance in what school you should choose. With the LSAT score, it holds a significance because this score determines what school you are able to attend to. The LSAT is a test that you need to take in order to apply. GPA is the GPA that you have when you graduate from undergrad. This also kind of differentiates what school you will go to and which one you would not. The acceptance rate of a school is also very important because this shows the likeliness and how high of a chance you are at being accepted within this university. And the bar passing rate. The bar is the exam that you take to be able to be a licensed attorney at the end of law school. The bar passing rate is important because this shows how many graduates have been able to pass the bar and become licensed attorney once they've graduated from said university. The cost of attendance. Now this usually is something that everybody, thinks about when they're attending school. How much is it going to cost? This is very important. So that's also one thing that's being talked about within this presentation. It's the cost of attendance, tuition, and everything that goes along with it. Also, school ranking. As I said before, the schools that are being talked about are top 5 within the state. So it's the ranking within each and every one of them. At the end of this presentation, based on those rankings that are given to each of the schools, I will make a recommendation on which one is best. The importance of choosing a good law school. There are a lot of future opportunities that can arise from attending certain schools, such as legal internships, clerkships, and job opportunities. These are all very, very good, and going to a different school will open different opportunities for different people. So that's also something that you should look at when applying to schools, the different opportunities that can arise from it. In this figure, you can see each of the 5 schools at the top and each of the 6 criterias on the side. Right now, we were going to be talking about each of their schools and each of the criteria. So first off is the University of Texas, UT. So the LSAT that you need to be accepted, the average LSAT to be accepted into the University of Texas is a 169. Now this is a 169 out of 180. So although this isn't extremely high, as you can see in the rest of the column, the rest of the numbers we'll get to, but it is one of the higher ones. Next up is GPA. The average GPA to be accepted into UT is a 3.8. Now, this isn't one of the highest ones within the 5 schools, but it's still pretty high. This usually means that the grades that you got within undergrad are mainly A's and B's, but the B's are very limited, and there's probably no C's within your transcript. Next up is the acceptance rate. The average acceptance rate at the University of Texas is 22%. This means that there's a high demand of people who want to go to school. So there's a high level of applicants, but only 22% of all those applicants get accepted. Next, we have the bar exam passing rate. Now this is probably one of the highest within the table, and it's at 95%. This is within the state of Texas, so that means that out of everyone who took the bar exam that graduated from UT, 95% of them passed it, and I would say that's very, very good, percentage of students who pass the bar exam. Next up, we have the cost of attendance. On average, it costs $50,949 to attend the University of Texas, their School of Law. This is, kind of pricey, but it's not the priciest one that we have within the 5 schools that we're looking at. Next up is the school ranking. Although you don't necessarily have to go to a high-ranking school to be successful in the future, rank is important for some people, and for the University of Texas, they are ranked 16th in the nation, making them the first within the state. Next up, we are talking about Southern Methodist University, SMU. Their average LSAT to be accepted within the school is a 162. Now this one isn't as high as a 169, but it's still in the 160s. The average GPA to be accepted within their School of Law is a 3.73. Now, just like UT, this usually means that during your undergrad, you got mostly A's and B's, and maybe there's more B's than A's, but that's all right. Next up, we have the acceptance rate. The average acceptance rate to Southern Methodist University is 42%. This is one of the higher ones that we have in the table, and it's good. It's good particularly because that means that they are willing to give more people chances, and that the school accepts, almost half of who apply. So your chances of getting in once you apply are, they're not great, but they're better than some of the other schools that we have. Next up, we have their bar exam, the average bar exam passing rate. For SMU, it's 85.19%. This, although it's good because it's, higher than 80%, higher than 75%, it could be higher. So this, although shouldn't be a factor, it could be, because that means that out of all the graduates who went and took the bar exam, after graduating from their School of Law, only 85% passed. Next up is the cost of attendance, the average cost of attendance at SMU. The average cost of attendance is $88,238. This is one of the higher ones that we have on the table within the figure. So, if price isn't as much of an issue when choosing a school to go to, then SMU shouldn't be it shouldn't be a problem. Next up is their school ranking. Within the nation, SMU ranks 52, which makes them second in the state. Yeah. Next up, we have Texas A&M University in College Station. Their average LSAT to get accepted to the school is a 163. This, it's a 1 point higher than SMU and Baylor that we haven't talked about, but it's, it's still kind of high, but that's okay. Their average GPA to get accepted into the school is a 3.84. This GPA is the highest out of the 5 schools. It's even higher than UT's. So you can kind of expect that if you want to be accepted into the school, the majority of your grades would have had to be A's and B's during your undergrad. The average acceptance rate into their school of law is 20%. Now this is the lowest out of the 5 schools, which means that out of everybody who applies in a given year, or in this case, the past year, they have only accepted 20% of those people. Next up, we have the bar exam passing rate. Out of everybody who graduated from Texas A&M and took the bar, 93.33% passed it. Now it's higher than 90%, so this is really, really good. That means that if you attend this university, the chances of you passing the bar exam are higher. Their average cost of attendance is $61,682. Now this is kind of on the pricier side compared to, UT, but it's still significantly cheaper than other universities like Southern Methodist. Their school ranking, they are ranked 53rd in the state, making them they're ranked 53rd in the nation, and which makes them third in the state, right below SMU. Next up, we're going to talk about Baylor University. The average LSAT score to be accepted is a 162. Now this is the same as SMU, which is why in the figure you can see that they both have a 3 in parentheses, because in terms of ranking they're both tied. The average GPA to be accepted into Baylor is a 3.69. Now this it means that you did above average in your undergrad. You had A's and B's, maybe a C, but it would be best if, during your undergrad you would kind of stick with the A's and the B's, so that the higher the GPA, the better likely you are to be accepted. The average acceptance rate to get into Baylor is 30%. Now this is significantly higher than both UT and A&M, but it's lower than SMU, who had 42%. So out of all the applicants who applied in a given year, they only accepted the 30%. The average bar exam passing rate was 87.05%. Now, although this is lower than A&M and UT, it still is higher than SMU. Their average cost of attendance was $87,571. Now, this is still cheaper than SMU, but it's still significantly more expensive than both UT and A&M. The average school ranking of Baylor University within the nation, they are 58 in the nation, which makes them 4th in the state. The last university we'll be talking about is the University of Houston. The average LSAT ranking to be accepted is 160. So, it's the lowest of the 5 that we talked about. So, that's a pretty good chance. The average GPA to be accepted is a 3.6. Now, they have the lowest average GPA within the 5 schools, as well as with the LSAT. So, which kind of makes it a better chance for you to get accepted. The average acceptance rate to get into the University of Houston is 39%. Now, although within the 5 schools they don't have the highest acceptance rate, but they do have the second highest, which makes them a pretty good school to look into, because although it isn't as high as SMU's, which is 42, it's not as low as A&M's, which is at 20. The average bar exam passing rate for U of H is 87.08%. Now, it's not as high as UT's, but it's also not as low as SMU's. So this is kind of something to think about, how many graduates from these universities went and passed the bar exam. And next, we have the cost of attendance. The average cost of attendance for University of Houston. which is 54,633 with 86 cents. Now, this is probably the cheapest one within the 5 universities. It's significantly lower in price compared to SMU. And, the closest one I think is in price is the University of Texas. The average school ranking of U of H is 60 within the nation. So they're ranked 60 in the nation, which makes them 5th in the state. Now, in the bottom with the rank total, you can see numbers, which is 9, 23, 12, 22, and 23. Now, these are based off of the numbers in parentheses for each school. So for UT, it's 1 for LSAT, 2 for GPA, 2 for acceptance rate, 1 for the bar exam, 2 for the class of attendance, and 1 for school ranking. And this goes for all 5 states. And so the numbers on the bottom kind of show what ranking I would give them, where to go to school. So UT would be 1, A&M would be 2, SMU and U of H would be tied for 3rd. No, would be tied for 5th, and Baylor would be tied for 3rd. So it would be UT, A&M, Baylor, and then SMU and U of H. Now, these are the sources that I used to gather the information. The majority of them were each university's own website. And then for the national rankings, I used US News, the best law schools. So, thank you for hearing me, and good luck on choosing a law school to attend.